Alright, in this video I'm going to be showing you how to use the property analyzer tool that I have designed in Google Spreadsheets. So first off, I'm going to start with a subject property which I have here, and what we're going to do is we're going to try and figure out what the rents are. So based on this unit and the square footage of the unit, I know that this property will rent out for approximately $950 to $1,100. And then if there was additional suites, you can put that information in here, or any other rental incomes. And then you'll notice the cells in purple are variables, so these will all change for different properties and stuff like that. Really what you want to be focusing on is all the cells that are in gray are ones that need to be filled out, and ones that are in purple need to be looked at and adjusted or filled out. So let's see, what are the strata fees? The strata fees on this property are $170.61. Punch that in there, and it'll give you the total annual strata fees automatically. Then we're going to put in the list price here. This one is listed for $249,980. Put that in there. And then this is going to give you an income to price ratio. So I find typically if they're around 5% or higher, then you've got a good chance of them cash flowing. So we're going to go ahead and fill out the rest of the information for this property before doing the comparables. So MLS number, address, area. This is in Wally. This is a concrete condo. It's been on the market for 1 day. The property taxes. Total bedrooms, bathrooms, kitchens. No basement, no suite. one parking stall. This one does not have a storage locker. $8 years old. Not sure the condition and the layout. It's a 1 bedroom. And the square footage is 564. And I like to put the date in just so we know that it's been on the market for 1 day, and we did this analysis on April 7th. Also, we're going to go down. Here's your expenses. If you know what the heat, electricity, water, property insurance, all that's going to be, you can punch that into the gray areas, as well as any expenses or closing costs you know you're going to be coming across. So usually there's not many active comparables, so I just put this in for the sold, listing price, and market value. Now these numbers are just an estimate. Typically an inspection on a 1 bedroom Condo is about $350. Appraisal around $300, and legal costs about $500. So these variables here are very important. You want to make sure you check this out. I always keep a reserve fund about 3 months. So reserve fund in months 3. Then if this is a older property, you're going to have to pay a land transfer tax. So 1 equals yes. So if this is an older property, there's a land transfer tax. So you put a 1 in there, and it calculates what the land transfer tax is going to be. If you're a foreign buyer, you put a 1 in here. And if this is a new property and you're going to be paying GST, then you put a 1 in there. Also, if you're going to be paying GST, there's different rebates that you can get. So just put a negative amount in the other category, the other cells. And then that's pretty much all the information you need from the subject property. We're going to go ahead and do some comparables here. So I've got some comparables lined up. MLS number, unit number, address. This is basically the same information that was for the subject property. So this is going to give us a good idea of how close to being comparable they are and where any differences might be. This is also in Wally. It's a concrete condo. Days on the market. The orange stuff is for active, so this is sold. We don't really care about how many days it was on the market. We care about what the sold date was. This was sold on February 19th, 2017. And what was the sold price? Active price doesn't really matter if it's already sold. People can ask for whatever they want. It matters what it actually sells for. So the sold price was $210,500. And you can fill all this information out. I will go ahead and fill it out for this. But it's not necessary in order to calculate the value. It just helps you remember what the property was you looked at and know that there were certain differences in the comparable property. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and put in the strata fees. Property taxes. Bedrooms, bathrooms, kitchens. No basement, no suite. 1 parking and a storage locker. This building is 8 years old. Not sure about the condition, and the layout is a 1 bedroom. And then the next important piece here is going to be the finished living space. With 543 square feet. And what this spreadsheet does is it takes the sold price and divides it by the finished living space to give you the value of the finished living space per square foot. Okay, and then over these however many comparables you have, it's going to take this number and it's going to average it out and give you an average price per square foot. So I'm going to go ahead and punch in the rest of these comparables. I'm not going to bounce back and forth. I'm just going to do this really quick. Alright, so we've got all the sold prices here, and we've got all the square footage. So you'll see these are really good comparables. They're all in the same building. So it's going to give us a really good idea of what the price per square foot is worth. You can see we got 387, 397, 411, 404, and 406 for an average price per square foot of $401.57. Now this is for condos, so there's no lot area and there's no footprint of the building. But if you were doing this for a house, what you would do is you put in the square footage of the lot size in here, and then you take the square footage of the main floor of the house in here, and what's going to do is it's going to subtract the footprint of the building from the lot area, and then it's going to divide the square footage of the house up, and it's going to divide the square footage of the lot size based on what percentage of the entire lot they take up. So that's going to give you a really accurate value of the land and accurate value of the living space. So now that we have all our comparables in and we have the average square foot, we've already punched in the information for the subject property. And what this is going to do is it's going to take the average value of the land and the average value of the living space, and use these numbers from the subject property to calculate market value for that property. So you see here we got the sold averages and the active averages. We didn't use any actives, so we're just going to use the solds. And so the solds in the area are going at $401 square foot. Multiply that by $564. So that says that the sold price in the area for this property is around $226,486. And because we didn't use any active properties, the market value is just going to be the same as the sold value. So if you look at the list price, it's listed for almost $250,000. This property, the actives in the area put it around $225,000. So this property is listed over market value by about $25,000. So when you're looking at the cash flow summary in the future, you want to know that you don't really want to pay higher than market value for this property. So base your projections off of the price you would want to pay for the property. So now we're going to go in and calculate the cash flow. So that depends on what kind of mortgage you're getting. Are you getting 80% financing? Are you getting 75% financing? Typically in this area we have to do a down payment of about 25% in order to get the property to cash flow. So all these gray numbers here are ones that you have to punch in if they apply to you. So we got the first mortgage and any other financing, like if you're doing a vendor take back or you're doing a second mortgage on the property, something like that, you can punch that information in here. So we'll just go based off the market value of the property. So we're going to do 75% financing. That tells you what your total mortgaged amount is. You see these are in purple. So these are variables. So we got 2.8% interest, 30-year amortization, and there's going to be 12 payments a year, or monthly payments, for a monthly mortgage payment of $697.96. Now, this is going to tell you down here, so your total monthly debt service, $697, and your total finance amount just gives you a quick summary of everything. And then it's going to tell you you're putting 25% down, so your down payment is going to be $56,621. These numbers all seem very accurate, but they're really just estimates. I just try and be as close as possible as I can with my estimates. So next we got what are the expenses going to be? So and if the tenant isn't paying these expenses, then you're going to want to include heat, electricity, water, sewer, property insurance, that kind of stuff. If it's a condo, there's going to be strata fees, property taxes monthly. So I've taken the gross property taxes for the year divided by 12 to tell you what your monthly property taxes are going to be. And then property management fee, anywhere from about 8 to 12% typically, depending on how many properties you have with the same property manager. And then vacancies in the area where I'm working in are very low. They're probably less than 1%, maybe even less than 0.5%. But just to be conservative, I put 2.5% in there. If you have a rental pool and there's a management fee for that, you're going to want to punch in the percentage there. Repairs and maintenance, I always include about 5%, just so that if the washer dryer goes, or one of your other appliances or something, and the tenant needs you to replace them, you've got a little bit of money set aside to cover that expense. If this is a house and you've got to hire a landscaper or somebody to shovel the driveways when it snows, then you want to include your average expenses for that. Or if this is a whole, like a multifamily building and you have a resident manager, what does that cost you every month, and any other expenses you might have. So you can see here green is current. So that means here's what this property is currently rented at, and based on that income, these in green here would be your expenses. If you were getting the highest possible rents in the area, that's your projected rents, and this would be your expenses based on the highest potential income. All right. So next we've got the closing costs. So as I talked about before, we got inspection on this property, $350, appraisal $300, and if this is a house, you're going to need a survey, or you're going to want a survey anyways if you can get one in this market. Also title insurance, CMHC fees on your mortgage, any other mortgage fees, legal costs about $500, any immediate repairs that you need to do when you take over the property. So if you got to redo the floors, paint the walls, renovate the bathroom, include that into your closing costs here. Then we got reserve fund, we talked about that earlier, land transfer tax, foreign buyer tax, GST, and any other expenses that you might have to close on this property. So that's at the bottom here, looking at the market value, we have total closing costs of $5,773.62. If we add that onto the down payment, your total cash to close on this property is going to be $62,395.15. Now, just so we can have a look at it again, we got the income down a little lower here. $950 to $1,100 of rent potential from this unit, for a total annual rent of $11,000 to $13,000. And also sometimes when there's a tenant in there, you can't get the rents up to market value right away. So I included a space where you can just punch in the increase date. So when the full calendar year is up for their lease, and then you can do whatever increase you're allowed. Now here we're going to look at your return on investment. So there's three pieces to this. You've got your principal reduction on your first mortgage, the tenant paying down the mortgage. The property is going to go up in value every year if you bought in the right area. So you got equity growth, and then you've got cash flow. So looking at principal reduction, I put in a payment formula to calculate how much you pay down on your principal interest given those mortgage expenses. And this tells me that every year we're going to pay about $3,700 to $4,100 down in the mortgage. So here we got the first year, second year, third year, fourth year, fifth year, and at the end of that, you're going to pay down about almost $20,000 in your mortgage. So we've got the equity growth rate, and this is a variable, so depending on how conservative you want to be, you can put in 3% there. But this market's pretty hot. It's gone up, at least 3% in the last month. So on average, historically, real estate, if you hold long enough, goes up at about 6% a year on average. So our market's pretty hot right now. It's crazy. It's gone up like 15% in the last year, but 6% I think is very conservative. So you look at the first year, it's going to go up $13,600. In the fifth year, it's going to go up, around $17,000 if it stays at that growth rate. And so your total equity growth over a 5-year buy and hold is going to be about $76,600. And then now we've got the cash flow. So we want to see if this place is going to be positive cash flow. So I always like to look at the market value first. So if you look at the market value at the highest projected rent, this property is going to negative cash flow about $40 a month or $494 a year. So I've taken into account the total annual cash flow based on this, and I've added that to your total cash to close times 5 for 5 years of negative cash flow, so that when we look at the average annual return, it's going to be including the amount of negative cash flow you've had to include to keep that property running. So at negative $40, that's really not that much. If you can handle it, you can pay $40 out of your pocket every month. Or if you want to self-manage the property, we can go back up here. You look, it's about $75 to $90 a month you're paying for a property manager. So if you are willing to manage the property yourself, you can put in a 0 there. And now we look at this, and it is positively cash flowing at the highest rent possible. You can also, if you want a property manager, put 8% back in there, but you really want it to cash flow, you can always put a little bit more money down. So we'll say we're only going to do 70% financing, and we're going to put a 30% down payment. So now your payment has gone up about $10,000. So you're going to put another $10,000 down on your closing costs and down payment. And now with a property manager at the highest possible rent, this property is going to cash flow $5. So any positive cash flow is good. When you're considering whether or not you're okay with a property to negative cash flow, look at how much negative cash flow you're going to have every year. So say if we rented this out, we bought it at the market value, we charged the current rents of about $950, and it was every year it was going to negative cash flow about $1,500 a year. But if we look at how much your tenant is going to pay down your mortgage every year, in the first year they're going to pay down your mortgage $3,500. So you're still going to be up $2,000 just from the tenant paying the rest of your mortgage, even though you had to pay $120 a month out of your own pocket. So that's definitely something to consider. Now we're going to look at the what your total return is going to be. So depending on whether you purchase this property at the market value or the list price, and you rent it out at the current rent or the projected rent, your return is going to be, say at the current, if you bought it at market value and you got the current rent, your average return in dollars per year over a 5-year term is going to be about $17,500 or 21.68% on your total cash to close and any negative cash calls that you've had to make due to cash flow. If you were to get the projected rent and purchase at market value, your average dollar return would be about $19,000 a year, or 25.89% on your money. And that's with 30% down and a property manager in there. Alright, well that's it for this video on how to analyze a property for cash flow. If you guys found this video helpful, or you'd like a copy of this spreadsheet to analyze properties for yourself, I'm going to put a link in the description below. You can just click in that, put in your email, and I'll send it right over to you. Alright, thanks for watching. Bye.